All right, let's talk about one of the most maddening things that can happen with a PC: the random restart. You know the one. It always strikes at the absolute worst moment. And today, we're going to figure out exactly why it happens.
Yeah, that pretty much nails it, right? One minute you're deep in a game or finishing up some work, and the next, you're just staring at your login screen. All your progress gone. No error message, nothing. It just feels totally out of the blue.
So, what gives? What actually just happened? Is your PC on its last legs? Well, here's the good news: it's almost never actually random. Your computer is trying to tell you something's wrong. And in this explainer, we're going to learn how to listen.
First things first, we need to uncover a really important clue. See, the reason you don't see an error message is because Windows has a default setting that hides it from you. Changing this one little thing is the most important first step you can possibly take.
And honestly, it's super easy to do. Just follow these quick steps. When you uncheck that box for automatically restart, you're basically telling Windows, hey, next time something goes wrong, don't just give up and reboot. Show me the problem.
This is a total game changer, because now, instead of a random restart, you're going to get the infamous blue screen of death. I know, that sounds awful, but trust me, it's actually a good thing. That screen has an error code, and that code is the clue that lets you go from being a victim to being a detective.
All right, so now that we know how to get our clue, let's go after the number one suspect. And it's probably not what you think. It's usually not some complex software bug. Most of the time, it's much, much simpler. It's about power.
And look, the numbers really back this up. A huge 70% of sudden restarts come down to a power-related issue. So before you even think about reinstalling Windows or anything drastic, you gotta look at your plugs, your cables, and that power supply unit.
So what should you actually check? Well, is your power supply, your PSU, actually beefy enough for your graphics card? Are you using some ancient surge protector from 10 years ago? Are all the cables plugged in tight? You'd be surprised, especially if the restarts only happen when you're doing something intense, like gaming. It's almost definitely one of these power issues.
Okay, so if it's not power, what's next on our list? Well, the next major suspect is heat. If your PC gets too hot, it does something really smart. It shuts itself down to avoid frying its own components. You can think of it like a self-preservation instinct. It's not really an error, it's an emergency shutdown. And the causes are usually pretty simple, physical things. You've got dust bunnies clogging up your fans, the thermal paste on your processor is old and crusty, or maybe you just have the case pushed up against a wall with no room to breathe. So, how hot is too hot? You can download free tools to check your temperatures, or even look in your system's BIOS. As a general rule, if your CPU is staying under 85 degrees Celsius, you're probably in the clear. But if you see it start creeping up past 90 degrees, especially when you're gaming, ding ding ding, you've likely found your culprit. Okay, so what if it's not power and it's not heat? Well, now our investigation has to go a little deeper into the system itself. We're talking about your computer's memory and the software drivers that make everything run. Your computer's RAM is its short-term memory, right? And if even one of those sticks has a tiny fault, it can cause all sorts of instability and, you guessed it, crashes. The good news is you can test it. Windows has a tool built right in, and memtest86 is a fantastic free option. Just let it run overnight, and it'll tell you for sure if a bad stick of RAM is the problem. Next up, software. Sometimes a core Windows file can get corrupted or a driver can become outdated, and that can definitely cause random restarts. You can run a simple command sfc/scannow to find and fix system files. After that, it's always a good idea to make sure your graphics card drivers and motherboard chipset drivers are totally up to date.
So let's say you've done it all. You changed the hidden setting, you checked your power, you monitored your temps, you tested your RAM and software, and it's still happening. If you're at that point, you might be looking at a deeper hardware issue.
This is kind of the last resort. The unfortunate truth is that hardware doesn't last forever. Over time, tiny components like capacitors on your motherboard or inside your PSU can degrade. When they start to fail, they can't deliver stable power anymore. And that leads to exactly the kind of restarts we're talking about. At this stage, replacing the faulty part is often the only real solution. So let's just pull this all together. A random restart isn't random at all. It's a logical process. It's almost always going to be one of these 5 things. You just have to work your way down the list, starting with the most common culprits, power and heat, and then moving on from there.
And that really is the key takeaway here. The next time your computer restarts on you, Try not to just get frustrated. See it for what it is, a signal, a clue in a puzzle. Your PC isn't being random, it's trying to communicate a problem. The only real question is, are you listening?